right now.
Did you know that small business clients who receive 3+ hours of mentoring report higher revenues and increased business growth? At SCORE Orange County, we're proud to contribute to this success. This past year, our webinars, workshops, and resources have helped launch over 200 businesses and create over 3,000 jobs. This short video will introduce you to the heart of our program, our mentors and mentees, and their inspiring stories of growth and achievement. Are you looking for that ultimate business advantage? Navigating the world of business can feel like a maze. But what if there was a guiding hand to help you unlock your business's true potential? Look no further than SCORE of Orange County. We have the secret sauce you've been searching for. Free business mentoring tailored exactly to your needs. That's right, at no cost. Our mentors aren't just any professionals. They are experts in every field, from tech to retail, finance to marketing.
When I first started my company, I did not know how to run a business. Right away, I got connected with SCORE, and they taught me everything I needed to know. How to write a marketing plan, how to read a profit and loss statement, and how to write a business proposal. My SCORE mentor could not have been better. She had my back from the start. She was non-judgmental, and I could talk to her about anything I needed to go over. I couldn't be more grateful for my time with SCORE. Thank you, SCORE.
It's time to rise above the rest and conquer your goals. Embrace the SCORE advantage. Unlock your next chapter and request your no-cost SCORE mentor. Visit our website or give us a call, because with SCORE, your success story starts now.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry again for the delay. We had some technical difficulties, but I've got Peter here helping me. So let's begin. We'll start the presentation and the slideshow. Great. Okay, so welcome to How to Create a Business Plan. I'm going to walk you through a business plan step by step and tell you exactly what's needed for a business plan if you're presenting it to SBA lenders or investors. Okay, so first and foremost, I would like to launch a poll just to see how far along you are in your journey. So if everybody could answer this, that would be great. How familiar are you with writing a business plan? Very familiar, somewhat familiar, not very, or not familiar at all? Okay, I am also realizing that I cannot see the results. Peter, can you see the results?
Yes, I can, and I can end the poll and then share the results. And you should be able to, can you see them now?
Yes, I can. Okay. So the majority of people are falling in the somewhat familiar, not very familiar, not familiar at all category. Okay. I don't have a single hit for very familiar, which makes sense. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Okay, sounds good. We're gonna launch a second poll, a second question now. Okay. Peter, would you mind? Has the sorry, God. Has the second poll been launched?
No, it's saying that the poll is still being shared, but I stopped the share, I thought, for that poll. Let me go back. Hold on.
Sure, no worries. Sorry,
Ended,
guys, we don't
stop
usually have
sharing. There we
this level of
go. Okay.
technical difficulty.
Let's launch this.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so what is your primary objective for writing a business plan? Is it to apply for funding, either through a bank or SBA loan? Is it to present to investors or to create a roadmap for your business or to evaluate whether your business is feasible?
Okay,
And
we're
Peter, if you
getting a
could share the
number of
results with
answers
me.
in.
Yeah, would you mind sharing the results with me, please?
And
No?
there are the results.
Perfect. Okay, so the majority of people here are saying that it's to create a clear roadmap for your business. Okay. We have 10% of respondents saying that it's evaluate if the business is feasible, but just a few to apply for funding and SBA loan, and just a few, 10% to present to investors.
Did you want to go to the next poll?
Yes, let's go to the next poll, please. Thank you. Okay. Do you currently have a feasibility report for your business? Yes, no, currently working on one, or I'm not sure what that is. And Peter, whenever you're ready to share the results with me. Okay, so we have the majority of people saying either no or I'm not sure what a feasibility report is. We only have one person who's currently working on a feasibility report. Okay, great. Thank you so much. This was very helpful and it helps me um understand what types of insights I can give you to make sure that you have a business plan that can achieve your goals. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay. So very briefly, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm the owner of Business Plans USA. I started my company about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, but I've been in business my whole life pretty much because I grew up in a family of business. I came across SCORE about 10 years ago when I first moved to Orange County, and my parents actually have a company in food manufacturing, and they told me to reach out to a SCORE mentor. So that's how I got familiar with SCORE. And a few years ago, I reached out to SCORE and offered my services for workshops and all of that. So yeah, that's my background. If you guys want to put in the chat what your background is and also the industry that you're in, that would be great. What we're going to do today as we go through the presentation is I'm going to describe the purpose of a business plan. Beyond that, so the polls were essentially for the purpose of me understanding how far along you guys are in your business plan writing stage. It seems like the majority of you are looking for a roadmap in terms of how to build out the business model. And that's great. It's absolutely necessary to have that documented so that when you do make decisions in your business that it's fitting your company blueprint, what you've outlined to be your blueprint, right? With that said, there is a preliminary step, which is called a feasibility report that I will discuss in a moment. But for the purpose of this presentation, we're going to go through each and every one of the sections of a business plan, which is the executive summary, company overview, products and services, market research, SWOT analysis, competitor analysis, organization management, marketing plan, and financial plan. So every time you write a business plan, you absolutely have to have these sections. And in this order, it's best that you don't deviate from this order. With that said, I'm going to share with you a Google folder that has resources, and also a couple files and folders that you can click on and follow along as we go through the presentation, okay? So can everybody confirm with me that you have the folder open? Do you guys not see this? Oh, okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, great. So if you all want to open, actually, never mind, just have it, keep it open for now, then I'll let you know which link or which folder to click. Okay? Okay. Let's forward. Peter, would you mind going to the next slide? Okay, great. If you guys, like I said, want to pop in the chat where you're joining us from, what your industry is, and whether you're startup or established, that would be great. Again, that's just going to give me a bit of context in terms of the audience. Okay. And also, what's your biggest challenge? For me, my biggest challenge used to be the writing portion of it, but of course, with all the tools available now with ChatGPT, it's become a lot more simple. With that, there are many limitations to ChatGPT or AI, which is something that I'll get into as well. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so what is the purpose of a business plan? First and foremost, a business plan is a company blueprint. This is not what we would call a strategy document. It's not what we would call a research document, even. It's just a company blueprint in terms of here's the business model, here's how we plan on achieving the goals based on this business model, and here are the financials to back that. Okay. So why would you want a document like this? A, to get funded, right? Either through banks or SBA in particular, or investors to increase your income. Why? Because having a blueprint, a well thought out and well defined blueprint will obviously help you be more organized with your decision making, especially improving your company's overall performance, strategizing your milestones, especially when it comes to the financial portion, mapping out present and future financial needs, staying one step ahead of the market, and attracting new investors. Okay. Can we please move on to the next slide? Okay, so how would you start writing a business plan? In the folder, you'll see a file called Business Model Canvas. This is a really good first step for building out a business plan. This is essentially the main pillars that you would see in a business plan, okay? In this business model canvas, you'll see key partners, key activities, value propositions, customer relationships. If you can fill this out, then you'll have the majority of the information that you need to build out your business model for your company and build out your business plan, right? We actually have so SCORE has presenters on business model canvas and how to build it out. I would highly suggest that you have a look at our roster just to see who's presenting and when they are, but this would be an excellent first step for you. Okay. Next, developing a skeleton with bullet points. So in the folder, you'll see a questionnaire. This is what I give to clients when I build out their business plan. Okay. The questionnaire will ask, what's your product? What's your service? Who are your customers? Who are your suppliers? All of that. The key thing that I tell my clients is I don't need fancy paragraphs. Just bullet points is perfectly fine, right? I don't want them to get stuck with, the grammar or the beautiful wording. Who cares at this point? At this point, we just want to understand what are you doing? How are you doing it, right? So when you fill out this questionnaire, don't overthink it. Just put in your bullet points. I highly, highly, highly recommend not to use ChatGPT in this stage. We have clients who come to us with questionnaires that have been filled out by ChatGPT. And unfortunately, it seems like they either themselves don't review what ChatGPT has presented, or ChatGPT has created such an extreme vision of what they want or what they might not want, and then it just completely derails their initial vision, okay, what they initially wanted to do. And now, rather than thinking practically and pragmatically and taking their practical steps to get to their vision, now they're thinking way too big. ChatGPT tends to do this, okay? It hallucinates a lot too, by the way. What it means is it assumes many things that are simply not true. In fact, it's really good now at presenting references that are not accurate. Okay, so for the stage of building out the skeleton, using this questionnaire is an excellent first step, but do it with bullet points and do it in your own words. Okay, there are tools later on where you can build out the bullet points and make sure that it still fits your vision, but don't use ChatGPT or any type of AI for this step. Okay. So this is an old presentation. I used to tell the audience to record and transcribe, which is essentially if you're not a good writer or you have a lot of thoughts and you're not sure how to put it all on paper, your notepad on your phone, you can record and transcribe. So for each of the bullet points, you can just talk it out, right? Talk it out, describe what you mean, and then you copy and paste whatever you've spoken, plug it into an AI, and then it'll create a beautiful paragraph for you. Okay. So at that point, you'll probably have a nice, fully formed business plan. Okay. So again, the steps here is questionnaire, bullet points, talk and transcribe. Okay. And then take whatever you've said, plug it into an AI, and it'll create, like I said, a good solid document. It'll probably not be all the way there, but you'll have a good 80-90% of it done, 80% of it done. Okay. Okay, let's move on, please. Okay, first things first. Okay, talking about a value proposition. What is a value proposition? What value do you bring to your clients or your customers? It's a simple statement that clearly explains the company's positioning in terms of the benefits that it provides to its customers. Is it relevant? Is it valuable, and is it different? Okay, so the key question here is, why would a customer or client go to you and not your competitor? What are you offering that's different? How are you relevant? Okay, so in the folder that I shared, if you click on sample business plan, this is a past life of mine, what you're looking at. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to pull the file up. It's called Sample Business Plan 1. And if you could all confirm in the chat that you've got it up, that would be great. Okay, we've got a couple people that have it up. Okay, so what you're looking at was my first business plan. Okay, like I said, this was a past life of mine. So I had started an online platform for wellness providers. Okay, so everything that I describe in this presentation, I'm going to relate back to this business plan. I'm also going to tell you a lot of the do's and the don'ts. Okay, because this was my first business plan, and I made many mistakes here. Okay, but still it's a good reference point. Okay, so value proposition. Here, my goal, okay, in terms of the value, was to offer customers a fast and convenient way to browse practitioner profiles, learn about their services, and compare prices at no cost. I hit every single one of those points. I made myself different from Yelp. I made myself different from the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. I made myself different from all other wellness provider directories out there. In fact, at this time, I don't think there were wellness directories the way I had formed it. The value, again, it's giving them options. And why was it relevant? Because wellness is now a very big industry, right? So I hit each of those key points. As you build out your business and your business model, you have to ask yourself the same thing. Why would customers go to you and not your competitor? That'll come through the value proposition. Okay. Now, so sorry guys, give me a quick second. I think there's someone here that's not accessing the folder. Okay, so there's a folder and the file is called Sample Business Plan. Okay, next, the mission statement. A statement that declares the purpose of the company. So here, the wellness pages seeks to improve mental, emotional, and physical health of its users by giving them convenient access to wellness providers. Oh, sorry, professionals. Okay, easy, straight to the point. I feel like sometimes business owners get so caught up with all the features that they could offer and all the products that they could offer, and then they forget their core positioning. And it's so easy to do this, especially when you have something like Claude or ChatGPT that's telling you how you can make more revenue, how you can make more money, how you can expand, how you can be the best of the best, right? All of that is good, but always hold on to that core key aspect and the core messaging first, and make sure that you're building on that first before you start building out the features or the products outside of that. Okay, so relating it back to the mission statement and the vision statements, and the mission statement especially is a good way to do that. Okay, vision statement, a statement that explains the current and future objectives of a company. So in this case, to be a leading reliable resource for trustworthy and reputable wellness providers. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So before we talk about the executive summary, I want you guys to have a look at the table of contents. So this is on page 2. The table of contents, this format and this structure works. Okay, so we use this currently in my company for our clients. The one thing that you should pay attention to and not make the same mistake is the page count. This is way too long. Okay, no one's going to read a 72-page document. Okay. I would say it's tough to say. Well, not tough to say. Rule of thumb should be about 30, no more than 40 pages. And if you're going to do 40 pages, make sure that the visuals are like that there's a lot of visuals, right? Again, 40 pages is a lot. It's not a bad idea to include a pitch deck with your business plan. A pitch deck is a presentation style business company blueprint, right? So it's essentially a presentation style business plan. Each slide will have its own topic, and the rule of thumb is to not spend more than 2 minutes looking at one slide. Okay, so you should get through the whole pitch deck within like definitely no more than 20 minutes if it's a presentation, but if you're just looking through it, 5 to 10 minutes, no more than 10. Okay. If you're submitting to an SBA or bank, they're going to want a full-on business plan. So I wouldn't go less than 20, 25 pages. I would not go more than 50 pages. Okay. Okay. So starting with the executive summary. So what is an executive summary? Okay. So for each of the sections, I'm going to explain the why, the what, and the how. So why do you need it? What do you need to put it in? And then how do you actually write it? Okay. So why write the executive summary? It's to capture the undivided attention of investors, persuade investors, or anyone or banks, to instantly inform investors of all aspects of the business plan and to compile all critical information to one single page for review. It's essentially an introduction. Okay, it's an introduction. Within this one page, whoever is reading it should get the full idea of what they're getting into. They need to understand your business model. They need to understand how much you're asking for, why you're asking for that, how you plan on growing it, and the leadership. Okay, all within the one page. Now, if you look through my business plan, okay, so the first mistake here is that mine extended to 2 pages. Don't need 2 pages, but I will say that so the snapshots of the financial projections, I actually come across a lot of business plans from different companies. Not a lot of companies do this. I would suggest that it's actually a good idea so they understand, investors understand exactly how much money you're asking for, how you plan on distributing the funds, and your profit projection. Okay. So yes, these 3 snapshots are a good summary of the financial projections. Okay, so again, not a bad idea to include it. Not necessary, but it's not a bad idea to include it. Can we please move on to the next slide? Okay, what is it? It's a crux of a complete business plan. It's the collection of all the decisive insights of a business plan, and it's like the table of contents with the description of the most critical headings. Okay. I'm gonna rush through this because we lost a little bit of time in the beginning. So if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and pop it in the Q&A and I'll answer you at the end of the presentation. Or you can pop it in the chat, although if you pop it in the chat, I might miss it. Okay, so if you want to put in the Q&A, I'll get back to you at the end. Okay. So how would you even write your executive summary? Strong recommendation to leave this at the very end of your business plan writing process and journey. Okay. Go through all the sections, fill out all the sections first, and then for each of the sections, just write a short intro or a short summary for each one. And that'll essentially be your executive summary. Just make sure that the paragraphs flow. Once again, ChatGPT is an excellent tool to do this for you. Okay. So if you wanted to put in ChatGPT all the different sections that you have and ask it, if not GPT, Claude, um, and ask it, hey, can you write me an executive summary? It'll write you a beautiful executive summary. It's very intelligent now. Just make sure that you're reading it thoroughly and that you're catching any hallucinations. Again, hallucinations are when AI assumes it knows something and is very confident about it. So you won't catch the mistake because it's so confident and it presents it with confidence. Okay. So just make sure that the AI is not hallucinating and that whatever it's written exactly matches your business model. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, please. Whenever you're ready, Peter, we can move on to the next slide. So the next slide will be about okay, there you go, company overview. So what is a company overview? It's just about your company. You define your business, you demonstrate how you're unique, you explain your goals. Here you would put your mission, vision statements, and you would chalk out your audience. So you would describe who your audience is. Who are these people who are going to purchase your products? What's their age group? Where do they live? What is their socioeconomic status, their income level, so on and so forth. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay. So here is where we're going to describe the products and services. Okay, we're going to describe the current status of the company. So if you're a startup or you're established, you can describe it here. The aspirations and motivations, once again, we're talking about purpose statements, vision statement, mission statement, and an analysis of the target market. Okay, let's move on to the next, please. Next slide. Okay, so how would you write it? Okay, so you can write it at the start of the business plan development process. It kind of honestly, as long as you have all your bullet points in that questionnaire, I'm not totally against going back and forth between sections, right? Obviously, it would make sense that you would start with this part because you need to describe what your company is. But yeah, so yes, starting it at the beginning and writing a detailed description of the products and services of your company, the current status, so is it established? What's the location? What are the contact details? Is it an S corp? Is it an LLC? So on and so forth. And then the driving principles, like I said, like the mission, vision statements. Okay. If you guys want to go onto page 9 of the business plan. Once again, this is a good example and a good reference point on how to build out the company overview. So here I included mission, vision statements, and a purpose statement as well. I described exactly what the platform intends to do, the business philosophy, the business opportunity, and then a rundown of the target market as well. Okay. This, I think, is about 5 pages. 5 pages, I suppose, is not that bad, but it could be more straight to the point, which is what I would suggest that you guys do. Okay. For business plans, just keep it straight to the point. You don't need filler. Okay. Mind you, this business model for the wellness pages was a pretty extensive business model. So I mean, there's a reason why it's this long, but still, it doesn't have to be this long. You guys can shorten it. And if you don't know how, once again, you can ask AI to do it for you. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay, so actually, once again, how to write it out. So you can actually put your milestones here as well. So milestones are key milestones for the growth of your company. Okay, it'll depend on your company what the milestones would look like. Sometimes milestones can look like first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, so on and so forth. Other times it can look more like numbers, right? So for the wellness pages, for example, I maybe would have put 100 users within my first 3 months, 600 users by my 6th month, and then X amount of users by the end of the first year, right? there's also financial milestones that, you might want to hit, or membership milestones, right? So the milestones will fully depend on your business model. But yeah, so essentially we're showing the growth and the progression of the company so that investors, banks can understand where it's headed. Okay. Okay. And further research, these are a couple examples for how to actually find information regarding your audience. You'd be surprised what a Google search gives you. Usually they're pretty reliable. Just make sure you're not pulling from any type of blog post. If you do ask AI to do any type of market research for you, you absolutely have to check the reference and click on that reference and make sure that whatever is being presented in AI exactly matches that link, because once again, it hallucinates. Okay. And if you're finding that it doesn't match, you cannot use that in your business plan. Okay. Because it'll kill the credibility of what you're presenting. Okay, let's move on to the next piece. Okay, writing the products and services. So in this business plan, I went all out. So I took screenshots of the platform and I explained what the platform looks like, what the dashboard looks like, what the what the profiles look like, and all of that. Okay, I don't do what I did. Okay, it doesn't have to be this extensive. For the products and services, for sure, explain exactly the value proposition for the what's it called, for the clients or the customers, so that they understand the value, right, of the product or service. So here you're going to elaborate on the output of your business, and you're going to highlight the unique features as well. Okay, can we move on to the next slide, please? Okay, so what is it here is where we really hone in on the benefits, i.e. the value proposition of the products and services. Okay, so here, this is where you would put a demo. So if, for example, you're launching a restaurant, right, this is where you would show the menu items, right? Same thing with an app. This is where you would show some of the screenshots. And then you would explain in detail how the clients or customers would be using the product. Okay. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, how would you write it? So you'll add this section after the company overview, and you're going to give details to what you already wrote in the company overview. Try not to repeat yourself. And yeah, and again, here we're really trying to like drive home the point of the value proposition and why you're different and why you're unique. Okay. Okay, let's move forward, please. Okay, so at the beginning of the presentation, I asked you guys whether you're familiar with the feasibility report. The majority of you answered that you were not familiar with the feasibility report, either that you don't have one or that you don't know what it is. Okay. And here's the other thing. The other poll asked you what you need the business plan for, and the majority of you answered that you need a clear roadmap. The business plan will not give you a roadmap. The business plan is an articulation of a business model that has already been established, that has already been researched. The business plan is a company blueprint that you're showing to banks or investors. But this is not where you do your research. This is not where you evaluate if the company is feasible or not. Okay. The stage is actually one stage before the business plan, which is called a feasibility report. Okay. A feasibility report is exactly what it sounds like. It evaluates whether the business model is feasible or not. And the way it does that is by doing a deep dive in market research. Market research can look like competitor analysis, could look at pricing analysis, location analysis, economic analysis, all of that. The goal is to validate or invalidate that the idea is profitable. Okay. Why are we doing this? Why? Because A, we don't want to burn our money, right? We also don't want to waste our time. There's a crazy stat out there that I think 90% of businesses fail. I could be wrong about that stat, but it's like a huge amount, a huge amount. The key reason, I believe management is usually one of the main reasons, but another key reason is lack of research. A lot of business owners go by gut instinct, and rather than challenging themselves and asking themselves, hey, could this be better? Could I position my company in a better way, whether it's through pricing or value proposition, to make sure I'm competitive, to make sure that I'm successful? They don't do that. They go by their gut instinct. Okay. And if you're starting with your business plan and writing out a business plan without any solid research to back it, all you're doing at this stage is going by gut instinct. And and it's good to have drive, obviously. It's good to have motivation. All entrepreneurs need it. But if you don't take your practical steps to get there, you're not going to optimize your success. Okay. So going back to the feasibility report. Actually, I think I've got, okay, in the file, no, sorry, in the folder, in the Google folder, there's a questionnaire here called feasibility report questionnaire. Okay. So it's actually, the questionnaire is almost exactly as a business plan questionnaire, but you'll notice that the first part of this questionnaire says, what parts of the business model are you sure about? Which parts are you unsure about? Because the parts that you're unsure about is the parts that you have to market research to make sure that you're optimizing your business model. Okay. So for example, if I was to open a sushi restaurant in Laguna Beach, right? The part that I'm sure about is that it's going to be in Laguna Beach. Okay. So that's what I would put in the questionnaire. The part that I'm unsure about is possibly pricing, right? So what would I need to do to determine a competitive pricing or pricing that would optimize the success of the business model? I would probably have to do a competitor research, right? To see what the neighboring sushi restaurants are charging. If not sushi, what about Asian restaurants or any indirect competitors, right? And that should help guide me in terms of how much I can charge for products. Oh, sorry, for the product for the food, right? Besides that, once I have a good understanding of what I can charge, next I need to go into the expenses. I need to understand the lease amount. I need to understand the food cost. I need to understand labor costs, right? And based on that, I should have a very clear idea of whether it's feasible or not. Should I launch this restaurant, or is competition way too rough, or are my margins so little that I'm going to feel like, is it really that worth it? Is this really something that I want to do? That's what you need the feasibility report for. Okay, just because there are successful restaurants out there, sushi restaurants in Laguna Beach, doesn't mean mine will be successful. And that's how you absolutely have to approach business if you don't want to waste your money. Okay. Okay, so that's my little spiel on feasibility reports. The majority of you don't have a feasibility report. Once again, before you even think about writing a business plan, because at this point, we're assuming that the business model is established, back up one step and challenge yourself to make sure that the business model actually makes sense. Okay. So back to the business plan writing side of things. Why write market research? You want to find the current status of the market. You want to learn where the industry is headed, understanding the various parameters. This is what we call a SWOT. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Point out the parameters that pose a challenge or growth to the market. Find major market segments of the industry and evaluate whether there's a gap that can be filled by the business. Okay. In other words, are you different? Are you unique? Yes. Okay, great. There's a gap there. That means that you can fill it. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay, what is it? It shows the market size and its growth trajectory. It elaborates on how various trends, challenges, demographics, or any situation may interact with the industry. Evaluates consumption forecasts and preferences of the consumers. Shows the various market segments that can be classified based on region, demographics, usage, or types. Long story short here. Long story short. Market research is essentially just validating whether there's truly a market, so buyers, for what you're doing. Okay, that's really all it is. Okay, and there are a ton of databases out there that can give you that validation and give you the industry stats. Okay, so for example, once again in Laguna Beach, we might see that there's an uptick in tourism year on year, 5%, 10% in tourism. That actually works great for you. Also, if we're seeing that generally in Orange County, there's an uptick in Asian cuisine and Japanese cuisine. Great. That works great for you, right? So that's something that you would want to put in the market research section. Also, another reason is because the lenders or your investors will want to know that you've actually done your research. Okay. Beyond that, they're going to want to see the research themselves. But yeah, so very, very important part here. If you have your feasibility report, this part should be fully easy. It's literally just a matter of copy and paste if you have your feasibility report. Okay, let's move on, please. Okay, how do you write it? So depending on the industry, you can start at a global level and come down to a local level. So if we're talking EV, for example, or EV charging, yeah, we're going to look at global, then down to the local market level. For a sushi restaurant in Laguna, probably not super necessary to keep it at a global level, but you'll likely want to put Orange County or SoCal, Southern California, in your market research and then bring it down to the local level, which would be Laguna. Okay. Ensure that the figures you're quoting are in conformity with each other. So you're going to see a ton of references online. Whatever you quote, just make sure it all makes sense. If you're quoting, let's say 5%, 10% industry growth, from one reference, just make sure that that's accurate across the document. You're not going to want to say 17% in another part of the document. Okay. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, how to write it? Yeah, just cite properly. Make sure you use reliable resources. If you use ChatGPT, make sure you're checking the references and try not to use outdated data. The rule of thumb is about 2 to 3 years, unless there's something very big that happened 2, 3 years ago that would totally skew the industry stats. So, for example, if the year right now is 2022, I'm clearly not going to use 2020 for hospitality stats, right? Because it would not be accurate due to COVID, right? But now in 26, yeah, I could absolutely use 2 to 3 years worth of industry stats in hospitality. Okay, let's move forward, please. We are running out of time. Okay, what is a SWOT? SWOT is basically just making sure that you completely understand the market dynamics. Okay, let's move forward to the next slide. Okay, so here one dimension looks at whether the situation is favorable or not, and the next one is whether it's internal or external. Okay, let's move forward, please. Okay, so example, sushi restaurant, right? A strength for a sushi restaurant would be that the chef, that I have a renowned chef that's coming on board and he's got, let's say, 20 years worth of experience and he's been on TV. That's a strength. That's something to do with the business model. Okay. A negative internal dynamic is called a weakness. So if, for example, my location is tucked around the corner and does not have clear visibility, that would be a weakness. That's a weakness within the business model. Positive external dynamic would be an opportunity if, for example, we're expecting the Olympics and we're expecting a huge tourism uptick. That's great. It's got nothing to do with the business model. It's got to do with external dynamics, but it benefits the business, right? That's an opportunity. A threat, the obvious example here would be a pandemic, right? So this has got nothing to do with the business model, but it does hurt the profitability of the business. Okay. So for you, evaluate your SWOT analysis. I would actually suggest to use AI for this. AI is quite intelligent. When it comes to this, just make sure that it makes sense and that it fits your logic and your vision. Okay. Okay. Let's move forward, please. Okay, how do you write a SWOT analysis? So earlier I said ChatGPT or Claude, but if you wanted to do it yourself or build out the bullet points first, which is not a bad idea at all. You can extract the points for strengths from the business overview, extract points of the weaknesses by comparing the business with major industry players, extract points of opportunities from the market research, and then points of threats from the competitor analysis. Okay, but like I said, you can also use AI. Or you can ask AI to exactly do this for you and it'll do it for you. Okay. I just one thing though. I've mentioned AI a lot and I've mentioned that you can use it as a tool. That's exactly it. It's a tool. It's not a crutch. Okay, don't rely on AI. Bankers, investors can see very clearly when a business plan is run by AI, and it's so annoying. It'll kill your professionalism and kill your credibility, especially the level of detail that sometimes AI provides, where it feels like it's and it's just or that you're building it yourself. You're only using AI as a tool to make what you currently have professional and make it make sense, right? You can also ask AI to challenge you, but yeah, just be careful with AI. Okay, can we move on to the next slide, please? Okay, a competitor analysis. Here, a competitor analysis, you're showing what you're up against, you're elaborating on the market validation of a similar business, and you're positively positioning the. Okay. Every once in a while, I have a client that comes and says, hey, I don't have any. Oops. Oh my God.
Okay, everybody. Apparently, we've had a bit of a technical, probably an internet glitch on our presenter's part. I'm sure she'll be back in just a second. This sometimes happens with technology, as we all know. So everybody hang in there and she'll be right back. Okay, I see you're rejoining us. And so it should be just a second.
Hi, guys. I'm very sorry. Let me turn on my video here.
No problem, Zoe. It's probably your internet connection, but we can hear you fine. We're not getting a picture right now, but we can still hear you.
Okay. Let me see if I can get my camera back on. This is crazy. Now my camera doesn't work. What is going on? Guys, I am so sorry. I really appreciate your patience today. Okay, I'm gonna move. Someone said AI heard you badmouth, so it cut your feed. Yeah, I would not be surprised, Philip. Thanks. Okay, cool. So with the competitor analysis, the key thing here is that we want to show what we're up against. Beyond that, we also want to validate that there's a market for the business model, right? So, if, for example, going back to the sushi restaurant, we're saying, hey, there are 4 or 5 other sushi restaurants and they're doing great, and here's how well they're doing. That's actually a very good position for you because it's showing that there are people in that area that are willing to spend, right? And willing to be customers. So, yeah, so don't be too afraid about the competitor analysis. Every once in a while, I have clients who come and say, oh, I don't have a competitor. That's probably not true that you don't have a competitor. At the very least, you'll have an indirect competitor. But also, if there's truly no competitor, that probably means there's something wrong with the business model. Because it's very rare nowadays to just come up with something that no one else has never thought about. Okay. Okay, let's move on, please. Okay, competitor analysis. If you guys want to have a look at the sample business plan, in the appendix, all the way down, page 66, this is a good competitor analysis. There's also a section in the business plan for competitor analysis that you guys are more than welcome to check out. The section itself is a bit more of an elaboration, whereas in the appendix it's just grid form. But both are fine. Both are fine. Okay.
Recording.
What is okay. Okay, let's see. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay, how would you write a competitor analysis? There's a lot of ways. If it's a restaurant, just going online, checking their menu. If it's any other type of industry, checking LinkedIn, their website, Yelp to see how successful they are, all of that. So there are a ton of resources for competitor analysis, right? It also depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for the exact number of members that they have, obviously it might not be readily available. Yeah, so, but yeah, the competitor analysis will depend on your industry and your business model. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay, organization and management. Here, we're just going to want to show that you have experience. SBA and banks, for example, if you have zero experience in the industry, they're not going to risk it. They're going to see it as a red flag. So even if you have strong collateral, good credit score, they're still going to see it as a bit of a red flag if you have zero experience in the industry. So you're in your business plan, you're really going to want to highlight just your strengths and your experience, and that you have what it takes to drive the company to success. Okay. Okay. Let's move on, please. By the way, the slides are available in the folder. Okay, so even though I'm kind of going through these slides briefly, everything is in the folder. Okay, let's move on to the next, please. And by the way, if you wanted to have a look at what organization management looks like in a business plan, you can go to page 48 in the business plan. Okay. And then the hierarchy table, which is also the organizational structure, can be found on page 51. And this is a pretty this is what's it called? It's a standard table. So you absolutely need to add something like this. Okay. Okay. Let's move forward, please. The marketing plan is essentially to describe how you plan on getting exposure. Once again, it'll depend on your business model. Make sure that it always relates to your target market. Okay, if your target market is millennials, the question becomes, okay, well, where are the millennials? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Instagram? Right? Or if you're a local restaurant, then obviously you're going to want to pull from the local community, right? So how would you do that? Would you do maybe an Uber Eats, right, promotion? Or would you do digital like paper promotion, right? So these are all tools for marketing that you can think about, and it has to relate to your target market and your industry specifically. No two marketing plans are the same, very rarely. Usually there's nuance, okay? If you want to have a look at the business plan, page 52, this is a good structure for a business plan, okay? Here I talk about leads, I talk about direct marketing, digital marketing, SEO, which is search engine, email marketing, so on and so forth. Okay, so you can absolutely ask AI for direction on the marketing, but like I said, just be very mindful that it makes sense and that the AI does not hallucinate and it fits within your target market and your business model. Okay, let's move forward, please. Okay, we can move forward. Let's move forward. Okay. So arguably this might be the most important part of a business plan because any lender giving you money wants to know that they're going to make their money back, right? How do you do that? You show them how you plan on distributing the funds, and then you show how those funds will contribute to the growth of the company. Okay. Let's go to in the business plan. Have a look at page 58. Okay, so here this is absolutely where a feasibility report would have been so important because these numbers make no sense. Okay. The structure makes sense. So the reason I'm directing this to you is because I want you to pay attention to the structure. Okay. But in terms of the actual numbers, this is a grand vision that is not based on reality. Okay. And your lenders will know that, your investors will know that. In fact, if you want to put this into, let's say, ChatGPT or Claude and ask it to challenge you whether this is realistic or not, it'll do that for you. Okay. Also, there are a ton of score mentors out there in each and every industry. If you start building out a financial plan, you can pitch it to them, show it to them, and ask them if it's realistic. Okay. The first thing is that it has to be realistic. Otherwise, your lenders, your investors will not take you seriously. Okay. So, using this as an example. So, I said I needed 50,000 and I showed how I would distribute those funds. Okay. Next, I put revenue assumptions. Okay. So I basically broke it down in terms of how many users I would be able to reach year on year from year 1 to year 5. Okay. And then I calculated the total number for each of the user reach and how many of them would turn into members. Okay, paid members. So then at the bottom of page 58, you'll see here that I've broken down total reach, user signups, member signups, advertising customers, total user traffic, so on and so forth. Okay. And past that, then I turn that into revenue. So assuming I had a certain number of user reach and assuming that a certain number of them, a certain portion of them would turn into paid members, how much would the revenue be? Okay. So that's essentially what you're seeing. So based on memberships, featured members, transactions, so on and so forth, the total revenue for year 1 through year 5 is a ridiculous amount. And I would not suggest that you do this, but the structure makes sense. Okay. Next, after we've established revenue, we need to establish expenses, right? So the expenses here are based on the labor, the overhead, and then eventually we come up with a valuation. Now, this is not easy. I would strongly suggest that you reach out to a score mentor to help you create these financial models. Okay. In fact, in the folder that I shared with you, there's a file called Score Financial Projections Template. It's a really good first start, but like I said, I would strongly recommend that you reach out to a score mentor to help you with this. Okay. But here's essentially what we're looking at. There are 3 sheets that we want to present to our lenders. Can we please move on to the next slide? One of the sheets will be the balance sheet. The other one will be the cash flow statement. And then the next one will be the income statement. Okay. And then more financial analysis would be a break-even analysis, sensitivity analysis, payback period. Okay. So like I said, these slides are in the folder. You can go ahead and research what each of them means. But again, I would once again just strongly recommend that you reach out to a score mentor. Okay. The whole goal is that we have to validate and confirm and justify the amount that we're asking for. So it's one thing to have a business model, but then we have to show the financials and we have to show profitability and we have to show margins and we have to show that everything has been very well thought out. Okay. Okay. We can go on to the next slide. And here's just a couple definitions for you guys. Okay. And we're a little bit over, we're 5 minutes over. Let's go to the next slide. I think we're pretty much done here. Okay. How to develop the financial plan. yeah, I mean, this is all here for you guys. But yeah, just speaking to a professional regarding a financial model is the best way to go. Okay. So we can go to the next slide. Okay. Once again, guys, I'm so sorry for all the technical difficulties today. But I'm going to go through some of the questions. So Tanya is asking, at what point in the development of a new company should one consider writing a business plan? Only when you have your business model established and you understand your business model. So first, develop your feasibility report. Okay. Once you have that, then build out your business plan. And this is especially true for a startup. If you're an established business and you've been in business for 2, 3 years, 5 years, then obviously you're very sure of your business model, right? At that point, it's absolutely fair that you would write a business plan, especially if you're looking to get funding from SBA. SBA will require that you're in business for at least 2 years. So at that point, your business model is pretty concrete, right? But if you're a startup, do not start at the business plan stage. Start at the feasibility report stage. Okay, Lee Kaplan is asking, want to mention that for competitors that are public companies, pull corporate filings. Yeah, you could absolutely pull corporate filings for competitors that are public. And Cheryl says, you had big dreams, girl. I did. And here, let's see. I think there's a couple more in the Q&A. Cheryl is asking, is there a quick estimate of how many pages for each section? I wouldn't say there's a quick estimate for how many pages in each section. I would say in total, the business plan, I would keep it between 25 and 40 pages. Obviously, your executive summary should not be that long. I would say honestly, keep them all pretty equal and pretty all even. Market research will probably take up more space than the others because you may want to add graphs that you see in any of the reference links, right? And you're going to want to elaborate on the industry analysis. So yes, market research will be more extensive. Besides that, I would say they're all about even. Okay. What is the name of the file? The slides, please. And someone is asking, what's the name of the file with the slides? I'm going to include it right now, actually, just to make sure that you have the most current version. So it's called How to Create a Business Plan. And I'm going to replace the existing file. Okay. Besides that, okay, it looks like we're all done for questions. So you guys have any more questions? Okay, someone is asking, is there a difference between market research and industry study? Not really. Those are about the same. Industry study, we're looking at the industry as a whole. Market research could possibly go down to the customer profile. So a customer profile can go into the psychology of the customer. So industry, we're looking at it as a whole, whereas market research can be more of a razor focus and a zeroed in focus. Are there any more questions, guys? Okay. So someone is saying they tell me the investors only read at the financials. Is that true? I mean, it really depends on what type of investor they're talking about. But I mean, as far as I understand, they at the very least need to see a pitch deck. A pitch deck is a presentation of the business plan. So they need to understand the business model. They're not just going to invest for the sake of investing. They need to understand what they're investing in, right? So yes, investors, they do say that business plans are too extensive for investors. I would be very surprised that an investor would pour in money without seeing at the very least a pitch deck. So a pitch deck is typically about 12 to 15 slides, and it describes the business model just in a very, very quick quick to the point way. So someone is asking, is this process, oops, I guess is this process to be followed the same if your business is services only, no products or inventory? Yep, absolutely. Even if it's just services, you still need a value proposition because at the end of the day, you're still selling a service. So the question is, why would they go to you and not the other service provider? Okay, someone is asking, I have established service offering business transitioning to more advisory level. Do you advise doing a feasibility then or business plan? Established service offering business transitioning to more advisory level. I mean, it depends. So, Robert, if you're already generating income and your business model works for you, then yeah, you could just write your business plan. But it depends what you're looking to do. If you're looking to optimize your business model and optimize your success, I would do a feasibility report because at that point you're challenging yourself and you're doing market research to see if you could position it in a better way, right? But if you're already doing well and you know which way you're going, and if you know if you're unsure about the transition, whether you should transition, then for sure do the feasibility report. But if you're confident due to market research and due to what you've already established within your own company, yeah, you can do the business plan. Someone is asking if I have a sample for a nonprofit. I don't have a sample for a nonprofit, but nonprofits still follow the same business model, right? So just because you're not making a profit doesn't mean that you don't have a business model. At the end of the day, you still have customers, right? You still have to be generating money one way or another, whether it's through services, products, or donations, right? And there still has to be a value for what you're doing. So even though a nonprofit, you're not showing profitability, the way you're laying it out, if, for example, grants, right, grant organizations, if you're applying for a grant, they still oftentimes need to understand the business plan and the business model. So the structure that I've provided, yes, it'll give you the same structure for a nonprofit. Yeah, financing a nonprofit like grants, yeah, absolutely. They'll also want to understand how you plan on using the funds. They're not just going to give you 50,000 like here you go buy. They're going to want to understand how do you plan on distributing the 50,000. Show us your established community impact, right? And usually even grants want to see 2 years worth of community impact if they're going to give you funds. They very, very, very rarely fund startups. Okay, do we have any more questions here? The So Robert is asking, do you recommend doing a business plan for each business unit within a business? No, I do not. If by business unit you mean like you have a well, it depends. If you have a parent company and then so a parent company like an LLC and then subsidiaries and all those subsidiaries are different, and you're looking for funding for all of them for the parent company, then just the one business plan will do. Does that make sense? So I guess it depends what you need it for. Separate services. If it's separate services under one company, just the one business plan will do. Yeah, for sure, just the one business plan. And then in the financials, you would show the different revenue streams that would apply to each of the services. Okay, guys, I think we are way over. Yeah, we're about 15 minutes over. I think we're gonna have to end this pretty quick. Are there any more questions? I think we're good, Peter.
All right. right. Thanks, everybody, for coming to our workshop. Apologize for the technical issues we've had, but that's technology for you. And please come back and visit us again. We have a number of great workshops and great presenters, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. And thanks, Zoe, for putting up with all the difficulties we had today.
Okay, no worries. Thank you guys. Okay, bye guys.